Imagine stumbling upon a sunken mystery in the deep blue sea, a submarine lying where it shouldn't be. That's exactly what happened in 1991 when civilian divers encountered something that would unravel a World War II enigma and spark unsettling questions. What they would eventually find inside this ghostly Nazi U-boat, U-869, is a story that will leave you in awe. Picture the dark, unforgiving Atlantic waters during the war, where German U-boats, silent predators, hunted Allied ships with chilling efficiency, these underwater terrors being Hitler's weapon of the sea, disrupting vital supply lines. Out of the hundreds launched, many were lost, some captured, and a few simply vanished, with U-869 being one of the most perplexing. Launched in 1943, this massive long-range submarine was designed to traverse the Atlantic and strike deep within enemy territory. Its mission: disrupt, destroy, disappear. Commanded by the seasoned Captain Helmut Neuerberg, U-869 embarked on its first combat patrol in late 1944, destined, according to records, for the strategic Gibraltar area. But the chaotic final days of the German command led to communication breakdowns and conflicting orders, possibly changing U-869's course mid-voyage. Then, on February 11, 1945, a U.S. destroyer and a Coast Guard cutter reported sinking a German U-boat near Gibraltar, a kill the Allies confidently attributed to U-869. With a defeated German Navy unable to contest this, the narrative was set. U-869 was sunk off Gibraltar, taking all 56 souls with it, leaving no survivors, no distress signals, no trace. For decades, this was the accepted truth, just another grim statistic of the war. However, a closer look reveals cracks in this story. No wreckage matching U-869 was ever confirmed near Gibraltar through photographs or sonar. Wartime reports, often made in the heat of battle, were notoriously unreliable. The vast Atlantic and rudimentary technology meant mistakes were common. Furthermore, German documentation from that period never definitively pinpointed U-869's final location. As Germany's war machine crumbled, radio traffic was lost, and records were incomplete or destroyed, leaving surviving logs often vague. Some experts now suspect U-869 never even reached Gibraltar. Adding to the mystery was the radio silence. German U-boats were required to report their progress and receive new orders, yet U-869's last communication placed it far from its supposed graveyard, still in the North Atlantic. After that, silence, as if swallowed by the ocean itself. The deeper historians delved, the more questions arose. Was it a case of mistaken identity in that Gibraltar battle? Was U-869 rerouted without record? Or was something far more extraordinary at play? For over 4 decades, U-869 remained a haunting enigma, a ghost ship lost in time, buried under conflicting accounts and fading memories. The crew's families had no grave to visit, no wreckage to mourn, only names on a memorial and a wartime file that simply didn't quite add up. Even the experts were stumped. While military historians were certain the Gibraltar attack closed the book on U-869, a nagging doubt lingered for diverse and wreck enthusiasts. Decades later, a strange sonar image off the New Jersey coast would reignite the mystery, leading to a discovery that would leave everyone speechless. The North Atlantic, near New Jersey, is a silent graveyard of shipwrecks, victims of the sea and wartime conflict. For local divers, it's an underwater playground and a puzzle waiting to be solved. In the summer of 1991, experienced Northeast divers John Chatterton, Richie Kohler, and their team, while searching for unidentified wrecks with side-scan sonar, encountered something truly unique. The waters there are treacherous, with strong currents, poor visibility, and demanding depths, making these technical dives high-stakes explorations. About 60 miles off Point Pleasant, New Jersey, at a depth of 230 feet, their sonar painted an image of a long, narrow, torpedo-shaped object resting on the seabed, something man-made and old. Curiosity quickly turned into obsession. Their first dive on the wreck revealed barely a few feet of visibility, the cold seeping through their suits. The structure was partially buried, entangled in fishing nets, but it was undeniably a large submarine, one that shouldn't have been in that location according to any known records. Initially, they found no identifying marks, no hull numbers, no nameplate, just a badly damaged structure with a partially collapsed conning tower and a cracked hull, slowly succumbing to the rust of the deep. Was it American, Russian, or German? No one knew. And so, the divers nicknamed it Yoo-hoo, a riddle defying logic. No World War II submarine was documented as lost anywhere near this spot, yet there it lay, silent for nearly half a century. The dive team embarked on a series of return expeditions, complex dives requiring specialized gas mixes, careful decompression, and meticulous planning, fraught with risks like nitrogen narcosis and the bends. Each dive, however, yielded new clues. Inside the wreck, they found German gauges, pipes, valves, and instrumentation, clearly indicating a German U-boat. But which one? They recovered small artifacts, plates, bowls, equipment fragments, some bearing the Marine Eagle, but nothing conclusive. The breakthrough came with the discovery of a tarnished but intact butter knife engraved with the name Hornberg, not a model number, but a man's name. This changed everything. Cross-referencing naval records and crew lists, the divers linked the name to George Hornberg, a crewman listed on U-869. The divers continued their relentless pursuit, both underwater and in the archives. A later dive yielded valve manifolds and diesel engine parts with serial numbers, which they traced to shipyard records from Decimog AG Wiese, the German company that built U-869. The pieces fit. Against all odds, these civilian divers had identified the mystery wreck. In 1997, 6 years after their initial discovery, the United States Navy officially confirmed that the submarine wreck off New Jersey was indeed U-869. The implications were profound. U-869 had not been sunk near Gibraltar, as U.S. military records had stated since 1945. It had met its end off the American East Coast, a staggering 3,000 miles away from where history had placed it. These divers had accomplished what no wartime record ever did. They had physically located and identified the wreck, uncovering the truth. And then came the unsettling realization: no one had been looking for U-869 there. Had it not been for the dedication of these amateur divers, it would have remained a nameless wreck, forever silent. The U.S. Navy and historians took notice, and wreck divers worldwide hailed it as an unparalleled underwater identification achieved without any official backing. It wasn't a military operation or a government expedition, just a dedicated crew of recreational divers investing their determination and hundreds of perilous hours exploring the ocean floor. Yet, identifying the wreck was only part of the puzzle. The burning question remained: how did U-869 end up so far from its supposed operational area? Its mission, according to records, was in Europe, near Gibraltar. So how did it find its final resting place off the coast of New Jersey, thousands of miles away? Was it rerouted with secret orders? Was there a catastrophic communication failure? The wartime records that might have held the answer were incomplete, lost to time and the chaos of war. And the crew of U-869, all of them, perished with their vessel. A grave had been found, and a historical error seemingly corrected. But the true enigma of U-869's demise was just beginning. Was it a tragic accident, friendly fire, or something far more sinister? Once the divers definitively confirmed the wreck off New Jersey as the German U-boat U-869, a new layer of mystery unfolded. What caused it to sink? A seemingly simple question that became increasingly complex as divers explored the wreckage and researchers delved deeper into history. Two leading theories emerged, debated to this day. The first: U-869 was destroyed by its own weapon. German torpedoes in World War II, while powerful, were notoriously unreliable, prone to a terrifying malfunction known as the circle runner. Instead of running straight, a faulty torpedo could curve in a wide arc, looping back to strike the very submarine that launched it, a self-inflicted kill. This wasn't just a theoretical risk. It happened multiple times during the war. Proponents of this theory suggest a fired torpedo, perhaps during combat or a test, malfunctioned and circled back, striking U-869 before the crew could react. Supporting this is the lack of evidence suggesting U-869 ever engaged an enemy ship. No reports of torpedo strikes or surviving records of an attack. Furthermore, the wreck shows significant internal blast damage consistent with a torpedo detonation close to the hull, rather than an external strike. However, this theory isn't without its holes. The second prominent explanation posits that U-869 was located and destroyed by two U.S. Navy ships, the USS Howard D. Crow and USS Coiner. According to this account, on February 11, 1945, these vessels detected a submarine, possibly via sonar, and launched a coordinated depth charge attack. Post-war, this action was credited with sinking an unidentified U-boat, later believed to be U-869, and the U.S. Navy long maintained this was its fate, even after the wreck was found off New Jersey. While seemingly straightforward, this raises several questions. Firstly, the timing. U-869 wasn't expected near the East Coast, its orders were for Gibraltar. If the Navy attacked a sub there, why wasn't it linked to U-869 sooner? Secondly, the wreck's location doesn't precisely match the coordinates reported by the U.S. ships. It's close, but not exact, close enough to be intriguing, yet far enough to cause doubt. Thirdly, divers exploring the wreck found several torpedo tubes still sealed. If U-869 had been in combat, why hadn't it fired all its weapons? Why did it appear to be caught off guard? As divers spent more time within the sunken U-boat, the clues presented a contradictory and unsettling picture. The forward section of the submarine displayed severe damage, crushed inward, twisted by immense force. The mangled remains of U-869 told a confusing story. Some internal compartments were imploded, hinting at an internal shockwave, not an external depth charge. Yet, certain external hull deformations suggested pressure waves from a depth charge, though less severe than a direct hit. Strangely, the control room and torpedo room remained relatively intact, their damage severe but contained, pointing towards a localized internal explosion, perhaps a torpedo detonating prematurely. Adding to the enigma were the crew's remains, scattered, suggesting no one reached the escape hatches, no attempt to surface, no emergency ascent. Whatever happened was swift and violent, leaving no time to react. The historical records only deepened the confusion. U-869 was believed to be nowhere near the U.S. coast, and the U-boat supposedly sunk by American destroyers was never definitively identified, leaving the door open for misidentification on both sides. Maybe the U.S. ships sank a U-boat, just not U-869. Maybe U-869 was already lost, the victim of its own faulty weapon. Or perhaps, both theories were wrong. The possibility of a classified mission with unrecorded, rerouted orders could explain its unexpected location and radio silence, and perhaps even the initial secrecy surrounding its discovery. As more evidence surfaced, the truth became more elusive, both theories plausible yet flawed, leaving U-869's demise a cold case. A haunting detail for the divers was the sealed torpedo tubes. If in combat, why no firing? If a circle runner, where was the launch? If ambushed, why were weapons unused? The thought of U-869 traveling thousands of miles stealthily only to die silently, unable to fight back, was deeply tragic. It also amplified the unsettling question: what was it doing off the U.S. coast? That unanswered question would finally yield a clue in the most unexpected way. Just when they thought the mystery couldn't deepen, they breached a sealed compartment, a hidden chamber. 4 years, the divers had faced the constant challenges of exploring U-869. But in late 2024, with advanced equipment and meticulous planning, they finally accessed a long inaccessible section of the submarine. And what they found inside this sunken Nazi U-boat was truly astonishing. It was a sealed compartment, partially collapsed and heavily corroded. According to anonymous members of the dive team, this area had likely remained untouched since U-869 sank in 1945. Inside, they discovered what one diver described as a perfectly preserved time capsule. The compartment contained personal lockers, locked storage crates, and foot lockers, many still sealed. Among the recovered items were the expected remnants of life on a U-boat, ration tins, logbooks, and clothing. But then they unearthed something far more unusual, items that immediately captured the attention of historians and intelligence officials. Sources familiar with the investigation revealed the discovery of a ceremonial dagger belonging to an officer, its blade reportedly etched with a motto used by elite naval units. Beside it, within a watertight crate, was a Kriegsmarine dress uniform, remarkably preserved, still bearing the Iron Eagle insignia and a red armband with a swastika. But what followed stunned even seasoned researchers. Beneath layers of sealed documents wrapped in oilcloth was a box of Nazi memorabilia, including a pristine swastika flag, folded with military precision. Adding to these unsettling finds were propaganda leaflets printed in English, designed to sow discord among the American populace, and a partially encrypted codebook bearing the markings of the Abwehr, Nazi Germany's military intelligence. This discovery was so unexpected and politically sensitive that it was never publicly disclosed, raising the chilling possibility that U-869's mission extended beyond mere Atlantic patrols to potentially deploying operatives or materials on American soil. While unconfirmed, this theory would dramatically alter our understanding of German operations in the Western Hemisphere. Then there's the poignant story of survival. Of the 56 men assigned to U-869, all were presumed lost when the submarine sank in early 1945. Yet, one name was missing from the final casualty list: Herbert Gaszowski. Originally slated to be a crew member, Herbert was removed from the mission due to an illness just before departure, his place taken by another sailor. At the time, it seemed a minor personnel change, but it would profoundly impact his life. For decades, Gaszowski, like historians and the families of the lost, believed U-869 had been sunk near Gibraltar by Allied depth charges, the accepted official record. Then, in the 1990s, American wreck divers discovered the submarine off the coast of New Jersey. In their research, they contacted surviving relatives of the original crew, which led them to Herbert, living in Germany, decades removed from the war but still remembering his comrades. Diver Richie Kohler recalled Herbert's initial skepticism upon learning U-869 was found off the U.S. East Coast, a direct contradiction to what he had believed for over 50 years. However, the evidence was irrefutable. The divers shared photos of recovered artifacts, including personal items, technical components, and the knife engraved with George Hornberg's name, a crew member Herbert knew. Richie and fellow diver John Chatterton, co-authors of Shadow Divers, remembered Herbert confirming Hornberg's service on U-869 and his recollections of the crew's final training before departure, his illness being the simple reason he didn't sail with them. When asked about the discovery, Herbert was reportedly moved but reserved, acknowledging the strange twist of fate that spared him while mourning his lost friends. He didn't seek the spotlight, but he did correspond with the divers and authors, his memories helping to verify crew identities and German records, providing valuable insight into the submarine's final complement. Herbert passed away in 2005, never knowing about the sealed chamber. Or perhaps he did, and simply chose not to speak of it. What do you make of it all? Share your thoughts in the comments below.